those vents, and he had a list, and he said he was holding his own. The last time I talked with him, he said he was holding his own, and that's the last time I lost contact after that.
Folks, if you would please like, share, comment, and subscribe. 4 things I appreciate you doing. Share it. Get your buddies in there to watch this, so you can help Don's channel to continue to grow. And
I appreciate it.
But the story we were hearing is that on our last unloading at River Road, now you folks at home, you can get on
Zug Island.
At Zug Island. Remember the carnivals? You put the quarter in, you turn the crank, and there's a big crank thing, go down, you try and grab a teddy bear or whatever, and it loose. That's the way they unloaded. It cost more than a quarter, you understand, but the big thing that goes down and grabs them, and somehow either that screwed up and hit too hard, and when they put the clamps down like this and took my total, they pulled up a 20-foot section of the bottom of that, of the hold. This is what I'm talking about. There's the ballast tank, right? There's where you put the water in, and if they pull that hole, that plate up right there, and then you put a hole in and if you hit Caribou Shoulder, and all that water is going to go right in that cargo hold, because they said, hey, we'll go ahead and fix that for you. You know, delayed about 4 or 5 hours. Let us get our welders in there, and we'll weld that back in there for you. Captain McSorley says, no, we're on a tight schedule. We got to go now. And they did not weld that back up. They just set it on.
They just laid it, the 20-foot section plate right back in there.
His theory probably was, well, we're going to be putting taconite on top of it, it'll hold it in place. But they're going up to Superior 6 weeks early to do a lot of stuff here. Once again, we've said people have said there was a bunch of metal up there that had Fitzgerald's name written right on it, because the plan was to fix things and to lengthen it and everything else. See, now remember, you've got that plate down there, and it's not welded, and it's loose. Okay, now that's part of the structural integrity of a ship that doesn't have any transverse bulkheads other than the bow and the stern. Okay, so she's working like crazy. That's why he throttled back. Then when he hits Caribou Shoal, which I'm sure he did until somebody proves me otherwise, and I'll be more than happy to renege my statement there. Water, when it first came in there, blew those vent covers off. Possibly, you're taking all that water inside the hold now. And there's no pump in there to pump that water out. No
pump in the cargo hold.
No.
Pumps in the ballast tanks, but not in the cargo hold.
There's a little sump pump when you hose if you hold a different cargo, you got to
hose it down.
Hose it down, and it was a small, and it was down the bottom, and you can pump it out. But
Did you ever do that? Hose out that has to be a miserable job.
Miserable
Hosing out taconite dust or coal dust? My God.
I can tell you in September, leaving Taconite Harbor, I mean, you had to have a park on this. Lake Superior is cold, and you're hosing the deck down, and the water's coming back on you, and man, you froze your ass. Froze your butt off. Sorry.
Sounds terrible. Go ahead.
They couldn't stay ahead of it, because when he bottomed that out, had that plate been on there good, the tank would have filled up, and the ballast tank pump would have tried to stay ahead of it, and they had a list, and they got in. The ballast tank would have filled up. That's what gave you your list to start with. Not only is that tank full now, but it's leaking into the cargo hold, because that plate was not put back down and welded properly. See, he didn't plan on hitting the shoal. He didn't plan on having one of the worst storms ever,
I mean, how could he? We've talked about that a million times. When he left, it was a beautiful summer day,
right.
Unseasonably warm, sunny, and calm, but it turned to hell quick.
You've got a ship that's a bad handling boat now. You got a boat that is tender, very tender. Proven to the fact that Captain Pichetti there said that he heard him over. I've checked back. A captain that never checks back. Captain of the Sykes. He'd even gone to school to be weather prognosticator. He was a very good weather guy. He knew that storm was going to come right over Lake Superior, and that's why early he decided to go behind Isle Royale. He wasn't going to get out there and get caught. And Roger Blau did too. They saw what he was doing, so the Roger Blau held in there too. You got Fitzgerald and Anderson fighting this thing. And as they go up north, that's when it all changed around. I still say they should have won on the Keweenaw.
Well, hindsight is the perfect answer, but they didn't know the wind was going to go from northeast to northwest and have the whole lake to build behind him.
He probably could have made Whitefish Bay, even with the bad list and everything else. But when she lifted that stern up, and now remember, you got all that water in that hold, and taconite's like marbles. She rolled forward, and she couldn't recover. She lost her positive buoyancy. And boy, oh boy, you look at the damaged site down there, and you look at it from different viewpoints, and I'm telling you what, there's some strange things down there. But just like people coming out of the woodwork, they got plate. People worked at the shipyard said, "Hey, this actually happened," and let us sit there. We'll take care of it later. Murphy's Law says he's going to run over Caribou Shoal, and that particular ballast tank, all the water comes in, gives him a heck of a list. Now it's going in the cargo hold. A ship that doesn't have watertight bulkheads, a ship that doesn't have any way to pump the center hold out.
That sounds like a math problem to me.
Man, she was built to a new design. She was built to make a lot of money and haul a lot of cargo, ease of loading and unloading. This is more from Mr. Keith Baker, the Anderson, okay? He made some very good points here. Where the blades are, the spare blades. And we've gone over that on the other video about how it was changed out. But what I didn't realize, because there's very few pictures that are very good at this. But right next to that one blade is a combing about yay high, 3x3, access hatch with a ladder to go down into the hold. And now you got this blade, gigantic waves, everything's going like this. And if it broke loose, it's real possible it could have knocked that whole combing off. Now you got a 3 foot by 3 foot section of water is constantly pouring in. It's an access hatch, so you could walk down on a ladder to get down into the hold. The whole prop was 18 feet in diameter, so each blade had to be, what did we say, about probably 8 feet, because the shaft was 2 or 3 feet. So this thing had to weigh tons. That prop blade could easily have sheared off a lot of stuff, not to mention taking the vents, not to mention the fence on the deck fence, right? But I'm starting to believe more that plate that we're talking about, that's another piece to this puzzle.
That thing had structural issues, and it didn't get better over the years as it went aground or collided with another boat or banged the lock wall 3 or 4 times. It had issues. It wasn't, people lean, I think, toward the storm, this big storm, and it was a big storm, 25 footers in the end. But that storm didn't take anyone else down. And there were other boats positioned all over the Great Lakes. This isn't just a storm that took down the Fitzgerald. There's way more to this story, and it points toward structural issues.
And other issues as well.
And other issues.
Let's just say there's several more chapters, to this book. I guarantee you that stuff. That access hatch possibly get knocked out. That's another way for water to get in, because water was rolling right up the deck,
Sure.
And 8 pounds a gallon of water, you get thousands and thousands and thousands. You added, the boat was overloaded to start with, so you didn't have that much freeboard. And McSorley himself, I've never seen such seas. Well, yeah, you're getting lower in the water. It's no wonder. We're getting people that volunteer information. And like I said,
people that were there in the know, that knew Dudley Paquette, that knew...
His name was...
Raymond Ramsey.
Ramsey, one of the designers, one of the marine architects.
Of the boats.
And he's the one that said, hey, on that date, November 10th, 1975, it was not a seaworthy boat. The architect, one of the guys that designed it, oh man, that's pretty heavy business there. As long as we're getting more information, interesting tidbits from Mr. Baker as well. And that's pretty neat to have him on the Arthur M. Anderson, the middle, whatever lake it was, and we're instant messaging each other.
Back and forth.
Oh, technology is just fabulous. Parts of it is. Anyway, this is some more heavy stuff. If we get much more heavier, they're going to break through the floor here, I think. I'm worried about it. He said they had just picked up a couple people, and I didn't explain if they were marine surveyors or what, but he got some people on that boat. Anyway, they had just come from the, if I can say the word right, Michigapotan. Am I saying it right? The ship that had the
close,
trouble?
but don't ask me. I'll fumble that one too.
We'll call that Big Mitchie. Anyway, he said they got up there and they said that what they found was on the one side of the boat, in fact, I'll just read it to you right here. By the number 2 starboard ballast tank, he said they had built 30 concrete boxes on the starboard ballast tank, number 2, to cover the cracks and the blown rivets. They tried to fix it by pouring a bunch of concrete on the side of that where the cracks and stuff was. They said that boat will never leave again. And you'd have to replace everything. This boat was... Remember what they said about the Bradley and the Darrell? The only thing holding it together was rust, And I don't mean to laugh because of the misfortune, but a lot of big businesses run her to death, you know what I mean? We'll fix her later, deferred maintenance. And Mr. Evans telling me that he was on her in the spring after the doggone thing was in dry dock. That's when they would have fixed this stuff. And it's still, you can't shut the hatches. what are you waiting on? He said they had big wooden boxes, they poured concrete in there, and somehow that's supposed to hold stop the water from coming in. But you and I, and that leads credence then to another part of the hall cracking on the Big Mitchie, you know. And but think about how there's a lot more boats out there that's old like that.
Oh yeah. I mean, the Fitzgerald would still be sailing.
Could be.
You know, more than likely.
Just 3-4 days ago, there was a gigantic gale went through the Great Lakes, and you get on marine traffic, not every other one, not every third one, but every ship laid in the lee of somewhere, whether it be an island or the lee shore, or you know what I'm saying?
At anchor.
Everyone. I say the insurance companies said, you get gale warnings, you're laying that boat at anchor, or we're not going to insure you. For every boat to lay in, yes, sir, buddy. Thank God for the insurance company saying that. Every boat, the lakes were clear. There was nothing in the lake. Everybody was laid up on the side there. The Arthur M. Anderson was at anchor for 2 or 3 days. There was 2 different dives, I guess, to see if there was any damage on Caribou Reef there. And, of course, the companies, well, we didn't find anything. But the independent one, oh, yeah, they definitely saw damage in bottom paint and everything else. So there was no question in my mind, you know. Okay, let's talk for a second, if I may. The loading manual. Are you familiar with the loading manual? Each ship has a loading manual. But I would think, too, that they would have to basically, you load this part, then you load that, but you don't put it all in the middle because she'd break down like this. See?
Oh, sure.
You'd have to load, you know, a little bit here, a little bit there, equally down, see? And the Fitzgerald, here's what it says, but in the Coast Guard report, in the actual report, I just read it last night, the loading manual, which was developed for the Edmund Fitzgerald, did not comply with the requirements of the load line regulation. The company policy was, like I said, you load this catch, then you go back, you load this hatch, and you load her evenly down. See, how much evidence do you need? I mean, the Coast Guard was right on some things, and there was some wrong on some things. These are pieces of the puzzle that's got to be filled in. Don Evans got back with us. Yeah, I was on in the spring of 74, after the dry dock. That was a 5-year inspection, was spring of 74. And they didn't catch those hatches that they weren't shutting right. Oh, come on. What did Shakespeare say? Me doth smelleth a rat. People's conscience is starting to get to them. And the older age, better clear your conscience there, folks, because the old Grim Reaper's catching up with all of us at some point in time, you know. I'm getting old. I went by a graveyard yesterday. 2 guys with shovels started chasing me, you know.
They heard about the rigor mortis report from your doctor. We got to get a head start on this dude. Oh.
But they're working on that because all the ships just laid in during a gale. The ships never laid in. I mean, a lot of them did, but I remember my mom, the night I called her when the Fitz went down, his mom, they were saying that Fitzgerald was missing. No, they're laying in behind us. She used to take trips with Dad all the time. They'd get caught in bad storms, and they'd have to lay behind an island or lay in the lee somewhere because some of them old, like the Richards of 1909, man, and the noise. Once again, we talked about the metal screeching. Even the Sykes was making weird noises they've never heard before. But doggone it, you look at that picture of that 2-acre site on the bottom of Lake Superior. The bow still looks like a ship, right?
Yeah.
It's damaged and it looks like a ship. The stern, although it's upside down, still looks like the back of a ship. You can see the propeller, you can see the rudder, you can even see the back windows and stuff. But the middle, completely disintegrated. I mean,
a couple hundred feet.
It looks like a doggone bomb went off. I ain't saying no bomb went off. I ain't saying it. Don't read, don't write nothing. But I'm just saying there's nothing there.
I read through the report from the National Transportation Safety Board on the Edmund Fitzgerald. But in the report, initially, it says it's on a 141 heavy. But the bow, as it lays on the bottom, is at 125. 125 puts you right on.